Yet yet even in artworks that are to their very core ideological, truth content can assert itself. Ideology, socially necessary semblance, is by the same necessity also the distorted image of the true. A threshold that divides the social consciousness of aesthetics from the Philistine is that aesthetics reflects the social critique of the ideological in artworks, rather than mechanically reiterating it. Stifter provides a model of the truth content of an oeuvre that is undoubtedly ideological in its intentions. Not only the conservative restorative choice of thematic material and the fabula docet are ideological, but so are the objectivistic deportment of the form, which suggests a micrologically tender world, a meaningfully correct life that lends itself to narration. This is why Stifter became the idol of a retrospectively noble bourgeoisie. Yet the layers of his work that once provided him with this half-esoteric popularity have with time peeled away and vanished. This, however, is not the last word on Stifter, for the reconciling, conciliatory aspects, especially in his last works, are exaggerated. Here objectivity hardens into a mask and the life evoked becomes a defensive ritual. Shimmering through the eccentricity of the average is the secret and denied suffering of the alienated subject and an unreconciled life. The light that falls over his mature prose is drained and bleak, as if it were allergic to the happiness of color. It is, as it were, reduced to a pencil sketch by the exclusion of everything unruly and disturbing, to a social reality that was as incompatible with the mentality of the poet as with the epic a priori that he took from Goethe and clung to. What transpires, in opposition to the will of its prose, through the discrepancy between its form and the already capitalist society, devolves upon its expression. Ideological exaggeration endows his work immediately with its non-ideological truth content, with its superiority over all consoling, assiduously pastoral literature, and a want for it that authentic quality that Nietzsche admired. Stifter is the paradigm of how little poetic intention, even that meaning is directly embodied or represented in an artwork, approximates its objective content. In his work, the content is truly the negation of the meaning, yet this content would not exist if the meaning were not intended by the work and then cancelled and transformed by the work's own complexion. Affirmation becomes the cipher of despair, and the purest negativity of content contains, as in Stifter, a grain of affirmation. The iridescence that emanates from artworks, which today taboo all affirmation, is the appearance of the affirmative ineffabile, the emergence of the non-existing as if it did exist. Its claim to existence flickers out in aesthetic semblance, yet what does not exist, by appearing, is promised. The constellation of the existing and non-existing is the utopic figure of art. Although it is compelled toward absolute negativity, it is precisely by virtue of this negativity that it is not absolutely negative. By no means do artworks primarily develop this inwardly antinomial affirmative element as a result of their external attitude to what exists, that is, to society. Rather, it develops immanently in them and immerses them in twilight. No beauty today can evade the question whether it is actually beautiful and not instead surreptitiously acquired by static affirmation. The antipathy towards applied arts is, indirectly, the bad conscience of art as a whole, which makes itself felt at the sound of every musical chord and at the sight of every color. There is no need for social criticism of art to investigate this externally. It emerges from the inner aesthetic formations themselves. The heightened sensitivity of the aesthetic sensorium converges asymptotically with the socially motivated irritability toward art. In art, ideology and truth cannot be neatly distinguished from each other. Art cannot have one without the other. And this reciprocity, in turn, is an enticement toward the ideological misuse of art as it is an enticement toward summarily finishing it off. It is only a step from the utopia of the self-likeness of artworks to the stink of the heavenly roses that art scatters here below as do women in Schiller's tirade. The more brazenly society is transformed into a totality in which it assigns everything, including art, to its place, the more completely does art polarize into ideology and protest. And this polarization is hardly to art's advantage. Absolute protest constrains it and carries it over into its own raison d'être. Ideology thins out to an impoverished and authoritarian copy of reality.